The next step into a golden success story is done. June 2018, Carrot Coin Bank, the licensed bank and the world's first cryptocurrency bank, is established in Miami with 100 million US dollar share capital. July 2018, mobile app to manage the gold-covered payment system is created. August 2018, gold mine in Madagascar providing gold reserves of 1.1 billion US dollars is bought. September 2018, the first deposit of 135 kilograms pure gold is laid down. October 2018, the Carrot Gold Coin cryptocurrency exchange to be opened. December 2018, listing of coin on more major exchanges such as CoinSuper and HitBTC. Number of acceptance partners to be increased over 540,000. By 2020, market capitalization will reach $500 million. Only a few months have passed since the ICO was completed. Development rates and perspectives are quite impressive, aren't they? Carrot Gold Coin ICO is perfectly completed now, which confirms the fact that nothing is as reliable and prosperity guaranteed as gold. Congratulations to all ICO participants, and thank you for your trust. Carrot Gold Coin ICO has raised over $100 million, becoming one of the largest in the history. We went further. We created our own app wallet, so you can send and receive Ethereum and KBC tokens instantly with anyone in the world. In case you've missed the chance to take part in the ICO, feel free to join our success story by purchasing KBC on major exchanges. We don't dream the future. We create our future already now.
Good afternoon, good day to everyone globally, and welcome to this week's edition of the GoldBricks Show. And today, myself and Dr. Rozelle will be presenting some information to you, and what we want to do is really get you to understand is some of the information. And again, Dr. Rozelle, on the way in this morning, you did a live stream, a short one, but one that was packed with some powerful reminders and points that I think people need to recognize. And one of them was, and I'll let you kind of take it from there, is that we have to trust ourselves. You know, we have to trust the information and our ability to process that information, and more than we trust others to process it for us. Because it's like unnecessary loss because you didn't use the intellect. You didn't use the resources at your command, but you trusted someone else to interpret the information for you. And it's like I've heard you say before. You said, "Don't ask your cousin Pookie." You know, you want if you're going to trust someone else to interpret information, let that person be someone who has the necessary skills, has information themselves, and has shown success. Like you said, your net worth, will be the average of your 5 closest associates.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so that's something. But please go ahead and kind of take us from there, because I do have something I want to share. And something I looked at this morning, which kind of goes right into what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, I just talked about how there are times when we'll make decisions based on what has been tradition for the most part. You know, you do it this way because, mom and them did it this way, and your grandmother and grandfather did it that way, and so on and so forth. And we have to pay attention to, Mr. Ahmed said, we have to pay attention to what making educated decisions and not allowing our belief system that's been grounded or based in something that does not yield the results that you're looking for. Don't let that be your guide or your direction. It's like you plan, do, and review. Plan what you're going to do, what your goals are. If you want to retire at 45, if you want to retire at 56, whatever your age is, determine what you want to do, make a plan, go through the process, take the steps to start getting there, and then review it. Review what's happening for yourself. Take a look around at what's going on around you, what's going on in the rest of the world, and if the rest of the population, as you know, is already struggling and they're working the plan that you're working, then you need to probably consider doing something else.
Right, right. Now, I want to share something out with our viewers this afternoon, that I ran across this morning, and I think that it is, to me, it moved me. It's an old broadcast, well, not so old actually, but it's talking about, again, what's going on around us, what's happening with the economy, things that are, how people are being taken advantage of and their wealth is being robbed, but not just people, but how corporations are subject to the same sort of shenanery, and games are played to rob them of wealth that was built, in this case, over decades. In this case, this wealth was actually built over 100 years.
You may have heard that President Trump is creating jobs and making America great again. You may not have heard about Sears, the flagship of American retail stores. This is a story that has special resonance for your reporter, with echoes from my youth. When Sears was the ranking retail and mail order company in the country and one of the most successful in the world, my late mother worked there for several years, first part-time, later full-time, supplementing what was, at the time, our family's meager income. I worked there briefly myself as a schoolboy, wrapping and expediting presents over the Christmas holidays. If you never bought anything at Sears, I guarantee you your parents or grandparents furnished their homes by shopping there, by pouring through the Sears catalog. Well, last week, they confirmed they're closing the last Sears store in Chicago, their headquarters, and the city that used to look up to the Sears Tower as the tallest structure in the USA. The liquidation sale is April 27th. The liquidation of Sears itself has been going on for years. As with Toys R Us, it's easy to blame Amazon, but Sears rivals like Home Depot have been thriving. And just as with Toys R Us, hedge funds and Trump's inner circle have played a big part. Hedge fund billionaire Eddie Lampert took over Sears more than a decade ago, combining it with the other company he was running, Kmart. Both companies were struggling against their competition, so Lampert combined them. And then he split them into 40 subdivisions and made them compete against each other. 1 year after he took over, they began losing money again. So he loaned Sears money from his hedge fund, and he sold off pieces of Sears, pieces like Land's End and Craftsman's Tools. He spun off the locations of more than 200 stores as a real estate company, a company he also controlled. The money from all these deals might have helped Sears fight, except so much of it went to pay off its debt, like the loans Lampert made. Plus, now Sears had to pay rent for the stores it had on properties that Lampert now owned. Although Lampert gets paid, Sears has left a big hole in its pension fund. And if the company goes bankrupt, those employees, along with shareholders, will be stuck holding the bag, while whatever money Sears has left will go to its creditors like Lampert. One member of the Sears board of directors during all this was Lampert's college roommate, who is now Trump's Secretary of Treasury, Stephen Mnuchin. Mnuchin stepped down from the Sears board before joining the Trump administration. At his hearing, he was grilled about the way the Sears business model had shifted to benefit Lampert and his hedge fund.
And as the chairman and CEO of Sears Holding is a gentleman named Edward Eddie Lampert, who I understand is your former college roommate.
Yeah, actually the benefit is here with us today.
Now, Sears has been performing poorly, and as a result, forced to sell assets to cover operating costs and to contribute to its pension fund. Interestingly, several of the most valuable assets that have been sold in part to Mr. Lampert's hedge fund, including Land's End, Sears Canada, and most of Sears real estate. The real estate was sold off to a different entity whose largest shareholder is Mr. Lampert's hedge fund.
As Treasury Secretary, Mr. Mnuchin now sits on the board of the government agency that must approve, if Sears goes bankrupt, whether Sears pays off its employee pensions before or after it pays off its creditors, like Secretary Mnuchin's former roommate. In that testimony you just saw, Mr. Mnuchin said he would recuse himself if that happens. That would leave just two other people on the board to make that decision, President Trump's Commerce Secretary and his late...
Yeah, wow. I hope that that you all got to check that out, what we were talking about. I mean, this is showing how a corporation, one that's been around for over 100 years, and as Dan Rather was saying, it is a American staple when it comes to American corporations. And many of us, I shopped there as a youth. My mom shopped there, and my grandfather, and so forth. So, how they were taken advantage of, and they were, taken over by a hedge fund, and then cannibalized, pretty much.
Well, I understand what you're saying. Sears was, in fact, a staple in American culture. I mean, it was I'm sure it was the #1 retailer at some point.
Oh, yeah.
There was I did a study recently, and actually have a video where I talk about a list of companies that are no longer that are shutting their doors.
Right.
Macy's, Foot Locker. I mean, we go on down the road. Sears was included in that list. Even CVS Pharmacy shutting their doors, and so part of what's going on here is that when things change, when you go from, we used to be in the industrial age, right? Mm-hmm. Now we're in the information age. As things change, you can't afford to continue doing business as usual. You have to change with the times, because who would have ever thought that a giant, the retail giant like
Right.
Walmart, would fall behind this little old company that's been struggling, peddling along for a lot of years. In fact, it didn't turn a profit for its first 7 years in existence. Mm-hmm. And they started off just selling books. Now they've come along, Amazon has come along and knocked Walmart out the park. They are the #1 retailer in the world now. Amazon is. And it used to be Walmart. So it's because they changed their business model. They took a look at what was going on around them. They made an educated assessment, Amazon did, mm-hmm. and they saw what was on the horizon. They saw that online marketing was coming on. The dot-com bubble back in the early 2000s, when dot-coms came along, they were still in the planning and doing stage. They hadn't reviewed it. Folks were unable to really kind of get the dot-com going, and then we ended up having a bubble. A lot of people made a lot of money, but a lot of people lost a lot.
Right.
And it was a result of, but the folks that decided to look at where things were going, the folks that decided that they needed to be a part of what was coming down the road and not set themselves up for failure by being stuck and doing what everyone else is doing, what everyone else had been doing. Those folks that took advantage of that assessed what was going on and made decisions, were able to profit and to have success. So, yeah, that's a very interesting video you showed, and that story, and by the way, Dan Rather went to my high school, so shout out to him, Dan Rather,
Right.
Wilson Tigers for life,
Right.
here in DC. So that was something that that is a situation where the folks that were a part of the company really had no control over what was happening. And unfortunately, because they weren't in control, they were victimized.
Right. And you know what? And by the way, we're going to invite you to join the conversation, 301-429-9247. Call in, take part in this conversation. But one of the points he made was that when they were being cannibalized, one of the things that went was the pension plans for employees, pensions. And that's, Sears is from that era when you could work for a company for 30 years or so and come off with a pension that you didn't have to pay into. First of all, it was part of the benefits of working for a company and being committed and loyal to that company for a period of time. You got a gold watch at the end and you got a pension check every month, right? And it used to be a reliable thing. You know, hey, I got my pension, I can kick back, I don't have to worry about things. And that pension in those days was enough to live on, to keep the current standard of living, right, that you retired on. But then what happened was the 70s happened. There was, in the beginning of the 70s, was Nixon taking us, the United States and actually the rest of the world, off of the gold standard, right? He finished that off, and after that began to appear all of these other things that are all about control, you know. And I always say, you know, there was no FICA score in 1971. There was no 401k or 403b, no certificates of deposit, and no these different so-called retirement plans and savings plans that we have today. They didn't exist then, you know. And also what didn't exist was this huge credit, reliance on credit. People went and bought what they wanted, pretty much everything, with the exception of a house, usually, cash. Even cars, most cars were sold, people went in, paid cash, and drove out, owning the car. But then when, as things got, you know, they got us on this live above your means thing, and I remember the, you know, it's like trying to keep up with the Joneses, you know, remember that, you know, that was the thing.
Yeah.
Because it was all about not trying to live above your means, living within your means. And if you wanted something, you would save and then you would acquire that thing, right? You didn't go in. And so then, and I remember this, and some of you might be old enough to remember this, maybe even you. I used to watch the Flintstones. This is in the 60s.
What's that?
Right? And so there was a point where the Flintstones, and this shows you how they prepare that next generation, the social engineering. And so Betty and what was her name? Alma?
Again, this is before my time. I think it was Wilma, though.
Wilma, there you go. I knew it. Alma, Wilma, you're right, Wilma, would go shopping. And they would say, charge! And they would come back. Yeah. They had that plastic.
Yeah.
And they would come back with all these bags.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was part of the social engineering that began the credit age. Right? And that was in the 60s, mid into late 60s. And then, bam, what happened in the 70s? Man, this is when they started rolling this stuff out. Right? Yeah. And in the 60s, credit cards, many of you might have a Visa debit card or Visa credit card or a MasterCard, but those things only existed for a minority, a very few, and you could only use them in a very few. If you were shopping at maybe Neiman Marcus, if you were staying at the Ritz-Carlton, or you were at Macy's and those high-end stores where people of well-heeled and of means would shop, right? Then you probably had one of those. I remember my first credit card. Oh. It was a Woodworth and Lothrop's credit card. I had a store credit card.
Wow. Are they around?
And, no, no. You know, the thing was, now check this out. I had a Woody's and a Hex. Those were my two. Those were my two. And I, you know, and really, you almost thought, yeah. I've kind of arrived,
you know. If they're worldwide, I mean, we
no, that's right. That's true.
Worldwide.
That's true.
Audience,
that's right.
I mean, these are local department stores,
right?
That were, I think they may have just been regional. I don't know, but they were very popular.
That's right.
Here in
this area,
DC Metro,
in other areas there. In the States, might have had their own, and of course abroad in the West.
But,
and then
but that so that's a great point. You know, the thing about pensions, one of our colleagues posted, I wish I remember who it was, and forgive me if you see this, and I don't remember, I don't think it was you, and the quote was, 9-to-5s were created for pensions, and then, now they took the pensions away, and now you just have the 9-to-5s left. And we know most folks don't even do 9-to-5, they really do what? 8 to 6, 8 to 7, and then not to mention the commute that they put in there.
Yeah.
So it's pretty expensive
to
stay broke. One of our other partners says that it's pretty expensive to stay broke, and if you look at what it takes to go to this hamster wheel, so to speak, just understand that it's not set up for you to ever leave. They give you just enough so that you won't leave.
Right.
Just enough so that you'll stay, but not enough to get free. Does that make sense? So understand that it's okay that that you're not alone. In being in this situation where you're losing. You may not be winning the way you want to win financially. It's all about looking at what's going on around you and making the right decisions.
Right.
So we just want to really stress that when it comes to your financial life and wealth building. We said we were going to talk about wealth building today on the show, and so there are some basic tenets some basic principles that you need to apply in order to build wealth. And wealth isn't a bad word. Webster's Dictionary gives you a definition of what that is, but I would like to submit one for our viewers that you can decide if this works for you. Before I say it though, let's make sure we understand what an asset is, okay? An asset puts money in your pocket, okay? So I'm just going to say that clearly. Now I'm going to give you the definition that I've adopted, and that is having enough income-producing assets to allow you to live the way you want to live. Again, enough income-producing assets to allow you to live the way you want to live. And so I know we're both from the same mindset of paying yourself first. So you want to pay yourself first, right? Then you want to invest and then pay the expenses.
Right.
So, and a good rule of thumb is never invest what you can't afford to lose. I didn't say save, I said invest.
Right.
Two different things, and that goes back to the pension, 401k, and everything else.
Right.
That those 401ks and retirement plans, those aren't true savings plans because you can lose them.
That's right.
Those are investments.
That's right.
We saw, what was it, last week or 2 weeks? 2 weeks ago, I think. Was it last?
Yeah.
Last week.
Yep.
Last week, where the market lost 1,400 points.
Right.
That was your 401k. That was
right.
your IRAs, your stock account. Whatever you're doing that's not an appreciating asset or an income producing asset, it's you put yourself out there to lose.
Right.
And you took a hit.
And I think that there are 2 points you made here, and I think we can't overstress those. One is savings versus an investment. What is saving and what is an investment, right? And the other one was about an asset versus a liability, right? So now saving, if you're saving, you're talking about you're saving in an instrument that is a store of value.
Store of value.
Right?
That's right.
When you put a certain amount in there, that value remains in spite of other factors like inflation and interest rates and what have you, but the value of that savings maintains itself.
That's right.
Right? And that's why we love gold, right? We love gold because gold is a store of wealth, a store of value.
Correct.
And it has maintained its value. When you start looking at some of the examples, and I think you gave one a few shows back, but you can't give too many. And I'll tell you something. I'll give you one from my real life, from my life. Okay. And I hope I'm not repeating it for some of you, and some of you, it stands to be repeated because it's a reminder. When I bought my first house in 1978, it was right here in Landover, Maryland, 35.5. 35.5.
Wow.
I was making about just under $22,000 a year working at a government. I just got out of the Marine Corps. I was working for a government. I was working at the National Gallery of Art. I hate to give plugs, but I know
that's
how
different.
Yeah,
right. You can go for free. You can go there for free.
Exactly. I was working at the National Gallery of Art. I was special police, and I bought that house on that salary, right? And today, that house, that very same house, is and it has been as high as 300,000 when things were blown, when that bubble was there.
Sure.
It dropped down. I think it's just over 200,000, 230, 210,000, something like that now, right? That job pays what? 28,000
Today, still.
today. So here it is, 1977,
Wow.
1978, 2018. And did that job keep pace? No.
Not at all.
So now,
How many years is that? I'm just curious because
Yeah,
that's a point I want to make.
right.
Because, you know, it didn't even keep up with the cost of living
it did
increase.
not keep up with the cost of
Cola,
living.
every 20 years, cola doubles. Cost of living doubles every 20 years. So that's why I was like, how many years was that? What, this is 88 now? I mean,
Right.
18 now?
2018.
So for 40 years.
that's right, 40
40
years.
years. So the cost of living has at least doubled twice, at least.
Right.
So to keep pace, your 22,000 a year should have gone up to 66,000, right?
Right, right.
44, 60,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. 40, 68, maybe, I don't know. But it should have gone up. But wow, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen, no.
And that is profound right there.
And that's a
You know?
real life example. That's my example, an actual example that I can point to that happened in my life. And additionally, in addition to that, what you look at is what I like to do is compare what was the price of gold
Ooh.
in 1978
And what is it today?
and what is it today. Now, how much gold would it have taken to buy that house
Okay.
in 1978?
Right.
And what is that gold worth today compared to the value or the price of that house? We're going to talk about value, but the price of that house, right?
That's yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've done that number, and I invite you to do that number. Actually, I could buy
gotta
that
hear
house
that.
about two and a half times, 2.25, 2.5 times. You know, in other words, I could buy the house and have plenty of change in my pocket.
So do you know how
right?
much? What? So you have the number in
The-
78?
1978, it was just under $200 an ounce, and
$200 an
yeah, it's been a while since I did
And-
those numbers,
and today
but
we
I do
know-
remember it was startling how the difference in the increase in the salary,
Uh-huh.
the increase in the price of the house, and the gold price
Wow.
versus gold then and gold today.
Wow, that's
Right?
very powerful.
And so I invite and I tell everyone, do this. You do it yourself. You know, example. Let's go back
Don't take our
10,
word
15, 20, yeah.
Don't
Do
take our word
some
for
when
it.
you bought your house, you know, do those same, or your car,
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, anything you bought. I like the house because the house is something that, you know, it's supposed to be an investment,
and
right?
people, and people think it's an asset.
Right, exactly.
And the thing
exactly.
is, again, our definition was
Right,
have enough
exactly.
income producing assets. Your house isn't truly an asset for you
That's
unless
right.
until you sell it,
Right.
or if you're renting it out. If you have real estate,
Yep,
some real estate
yep,
investors that
yep.
they'll be calling in. What do you mean? This is an asset, but well, yeah,
Right, right.
That is, or some people they know how to manipulate and move around the
Right,
equity.
right, right.
So
right,
so we're
right.
not we both are real estate investors, so we appreciate that, but understand that your house where you live, it's not truly an asset for you. Now it has some benefits. You lay your head there, you're safe. You raise your family there, you have memories and all that. But in terms of finances,
Right, in terms of
financial
Right.
asset, that's not what it is.
And
at
being
that
able
point.
to, yeah, and being able to hold that, you know, and that's why, again, I'm just going to show you this. This is gold, right? This is 5 grams of 4 nines gold. Now, I can drop that in a sock drawer, and I don't have to pay anyone to hold it. I don't have to. There are no, a house you pay tax
Hold it up for
on,
you,
right?
you talk.
And a house you pay tax on. If you don't pay your tax, you could actually lose your house. In a house, you have maintenance costs, and all of us who own houses understand you have maintenance costs. A new roof, or the plumbing, something happens. Believe me, a house has costs associated with it. And I know people who have homes, and they would be better off not owning the house because the house is eating away at their assets, or rather their wealth.
Yeah.
You know, the air conditioning unit goes out. Well, that's a couple of $3,000. A roof needs to be replaced. Well, that needs, that's money. don't let, as happened to someone close to me a couple of years ago, they had a drainage issue. And it cost them over $12,000 to have, because it was on their property, not not the water
Sure.
company, right?
So let me. We're going to interrupt just for a second because we have a caller on line 1. So we're going to go ahead and let the caller in. Stand by for us just a second.
Okay, here. I don't want. Hello, caller. This is WBGR. WBGR's The GoldBricks Show. Call, question, or comment.
Yes, I just want to ask a quick question.
Sure, go right ahead.
Yes, last week the stock market took a pretty huge hit. I was wondering, did any value of gold did the value of gold go up or down or stay the same?
Absolutely, caller.
That's a great question.
That's a great question. So thank you for your call. So there was,
Thank you.
so it took a 1,400 points dive. The stock market did, and gold actually went up 24%. Now let's talk about another thing. You mentioned your personal story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of folks can even relate to 2008.
Mm-hmm.
What happened in 2008?
Right.
So again, if you're looking at your home as an equity, as an asset, understand that when the market dipped 1,400 points, you have your home. If you own your home and you have, or if you're paying a mortgage on your home,
Mm-hmm.
if you're paying a mortgage on your home and you have equity, guess what? That drop impacted the value of your home. It impacted your equity. So understand that was a huge deal. At the same time, gold went up. And even in 2008, I'd be curious to see. I actually have a chart somewhere. I don't know off the top of my head. But you can look at the value of gold in 2008 and see what happened to it during the crash.
That's right.
I think you'll be, hopefully, some of you will be pleasantly surprised. Others will say, okay, I need to take an educated assessment. These guys come on here every week having fun. They bring in great guests with great content, and thank all our guests that have come on. And we have a special guest next week too. We'll talk about that toward the end of the show. But I want to get this back to him because it's something about 5 grams of gold which just draws me in and I like to connect with it. So, but yeah, absolutely. Caller asked a great question. We didn't even talk about it, but yeah, gold went up 24% when it crashed. And again, it's a store of value. It stays right where it's supposed to be. You know, it can continue to do whatever it wants to purchase. So that's a great call. That was a great question.
Speaking of going back, and I mentioned this, and I'll do it again because again, some of the things we mentioned are worthy of being repeated as well as we get new viewers. But in 2007, I was telling people, buy gold, buy gold. I was buying silver because I didn't think I could afford gold at the time. I actually could have had I thought of less than an ounce, stored in smaller quantities. I wasn't, and I'll tell you, since I've been in Carry Bars International, I've become, I thought I was pretty sharp before this,
Sharp guy, right?
But because I was sharp enough in 2007 to tell people what was happening, because I woke up one morning I woke up, and the dollar and the pound and other currencies had fallen, and gold had gone up by about $10 overnight. I don't know why I was watching it. I can't tell you that now because that was in 2007, but I was watching it. Right?
You were watching, right?
And I immediately said, I got to get back to saving precious metals because I had been saving silver for more than 20 years or like at least 15 years at that time, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to start doing it again, and I'm going to, as we always say you want to do, I'm going to tell everybody who will listen. That's why everyone who will listen, they'll tell you that and that's what we're supposed to do. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what Carry Bars International was. The whole system is set up so that you get paid for sharing wealth producing information and an opportunity in the system. Right? So I immediately went to work, and anybody who worked with me at the time will tell you, and even after that, will tell you for several years after that, even in 2000, when gold hit 1,000, I was telling people it's not too late.
Not too
And
late.
gold was in 2007. That night when I woke up, gold was just under $600. It was $587 an ounce. Now, I said immediately, look, got to start getting it. So I started telling people, get gold, get gold. And years later, as you said, if you look at where gold went, and was there a bubble? There was actually a gold bubble of sorts. Why? Because, I mean, I'm calling it that, and I've heard of, because what people did, they ran into that safe asset, that safe harbor, and then when they looked and they said, okay, it's safe,
clear now.
it's clear, they came out. So
Except-
when gold, except the smartest
Except the
ones.
folks, except the banks who
Right.
store their gold,
That's
who
right.
got more of it.
Right, that's right.
And then
Exactly.
they even know what else they
Exactly.
do.
No,
no,
that's
manipulate. The markets are manipulated.
Oh,
Again,
yes.
you listen to
Oh,
what
yes.
they tell you
That's right.
instead of watching what they do.
Right.
So they're telling you,
Exactly.
okay, yes, coast is clear. Go ahead, sell your gold now. Sell your gold. People are selling, and then all they did is once they sold it, and it took the bubble burst,
Right. Yeah.
for lack of a better word.
Right, right.
It didn't really burst.
It didn't really. That's
Understand,
right.
gold always maintains its
That's
value.
right.
So they went in and gobbled it all up. They gobbled up all the gold, and we call it a fire sale.
Right. Exactly.
So it's funny because, since we understand that gold can always purchase what it could always purchase, 30,000 ounces of gold, and I'm going to repeat it again because listen, you guys watch enough TV, you see enough commercials that's the only reason you know these little jingles is because they repeat it. They just keep
Right,
throwing it at you,
right,
throwing it at you
right.
until you get it. And so I'm going to repeat what I was going to say, if I could remember what it was. I mean, we were talking about so the gold maintains it's a store of value. It's
Right.
going to hold its
That's
value.
right.
So no matter what you do, that's going to be the case. So if you had 30 ounces of gold, you could have bought a brand new Ford pickup truck for $1,500. You could have also bought a brand new Ford pickup truck, and this is back in the 50s. Okay, you could also bought a brand new Ford pickup truck in the 50s for $1,500. So $1,500 and 30 ounces of gold were equivalent at the time. Fast forward today, if you think you can take your $1,500 in cash and purchase a brand new Ford pickup truck, I know you probably say, "Oh, I got a friend at the auction who can give me
got the hookup.
Got the hookup." Listen, let's stop. We don't have to play hookup games, unless you're gonna hook up with an asset, a real asset,
Right.
or hook up with a corporation that's breaking records all around the world. $1 billion corporation is breaking records all around, celebrating in Miami this weekend. I'm gonna come back to that. But you can take that same $1,500. You're not gonna be able to buy that brand new Ford pickup truck. And I didn't mean to plug that company. I should have just said a pickup truck.
Right.
But now that same 30 ounces can actually purchase a brand new pickup truck.
Right.
And so if we did some real numbers, and as this correction happens, and we're gonna, after our commercial, do we have a commercial?
Yep, we do.
After our commercial, we're gonna come back. We're gonna start talking about the money system total. Somebody's actually calling me right now. I don't know if you're trying to get in on the show. Let's read that number again.
That number is 301-429-9247. Join the conversation.
So we're going to, when we come back, we're going to talk about some things that are going on with gold, politics, the economy, and also our powerful money system that includes an income-producing wealth asset that you're going to be happy to hear about. So we'll go right to commercial.
To open up. So and you just got to see. Actually, that was Demi and Bob Robert Pettis.
Okay.
Out there, they did a beautiful commercial, and it's all about what we do.
Oh,
right.
well,
It's
there you
all
go.
about what we do, and it promoted a lot of people, some of our players and whatnot. So very good. I hope you paid attention.
That was
to
and those are two outstanding, phenomenal leaders who were just in that video. And Demi Sanya has actually graced us with our show once before, so he's not a stranger to the GoldBricks show, and he'll be back soon to do another one with us. Let's talk a little bit about the relationship between real, gold, the wealth, and what gold means, and how it's money to the rest of the entire world, and how, and its relationship to politics and finances. You can look up the Bretton Woods Act, Bretton Woods, and you'll understand. You'll learn all about gold and what happened. But if you look through the history of gold, there's a secret history that most folks don't know about. But all the world wars has something to do with gold, and he's looking it up for us now. Gold was at the core of it, the center of it. In fact, you probably heard of Fort Knox here in the United States, where keep a lot of the U.S.'s gold reserves. Well, also understand that because the United States has such a strong military, other countries also sent their gold to the United States to keep it, to safe store it when they were in troubled times, and just in general, because the United States has such a strong military. Well, Great Britain sent all their gold during World War II to the United States for protection and to keep it there. So that's just an example of what countries do. Now, ask yourself, why is that important? Why would they do it if it wasn't important? If it wasn't money, why would they do that? Well, the answer is they do it because it is money, and it's valuable, and it's a store of value.
That's right.
The golden rule is who owns the gold, whoever owns the gold makes the rules. So understand that's for them to go through such painstakingly. I mean, can you imagine back then all that they had to go through to move and ship that gold onto ships and bring it over? Well, that's because it's strong military, and of course the dollar was strong.
Right.
The dollar was strong.
Right.
Well, last 3 years, countries have been expatriating their gold from the U.S. They've been getting their gold out of Fort Knox at an alarming rate, and because, let's be just honest, this isn't doom and gloom, but just because the world is starting to lose faith in the U.S. dollar. Now, neither one of us want to see anything happen to the dollar. We're not trying to tell you, oh, start gearing up because this crash is coming. We want you to just do your own research, read what economists are saying, understand that you need to just be smart. Just like you prepare for your retirement, make sure you prepare for your retirement with something that's going to store and maintain its value.
Right.
So that's something that we want to encourage you to do. Also understand that there is the future of money. See that book right there? Mr. Harold Seitz, the CEO and founder of Karatbars International, wrote that book, The Future of Money. But Congress is talking about the future of money now. Congress says that cryptocurrency is the future of money. And understand, folks, that they just started saying that this year. There's an article recently. I want to avoid looking down at my phone. I think we'll start having a slide presentation here, and we'll just show it on the screen behind us so that you can see it.
Good.
But they just said they call cryptocurrency the future of money. You have just a year ago, the New York Stock Exchange. I have friends that are brokers, and they were just frowning upon cryptocurrency and everything. And of course, people frown upon something they don't understand. Like we have a very unique money system that everyone's trying to copy. And what ended up happening is the New York Stock Exchange, Starbucks, and Microsoft have all come together to create a cryptocurrency ecosystem that we already created.
Right.
We've already done it. It's the brilliant mind and vision of, again, Mr. Harold Seitz, senator. He's the federal German senator on the Economic Development and International Trade Council in Germany, in Europe, and he has I think he probably has his finger on the pulse of what's going on with world economics. But, you know, he brought on a cryptocurrency that's the first in the world, and we don't have the time, I kind of guess, to go through an entire lesson or education on cryptocurrency. We'll probably do that again and bring in some more folks to talk about it with us. But understand that it's a decentralized money system that's honest. It's on a blockchain technology, which allows you to follow it all the way through every transaction, and it can be person to person, peer to peer, business to business even. What has happened is that thousands of cryptocurrencies have been invented, but none of them have been backed by an actual asset, not an actual hard asset, until now. In February of this year, Karat Bars International introduced KBC to the world, a cryptocurrency that's backed by 24 karat 999.9, or as my good friend likes to say, 49's gold, which is LBMA certified, and it actually gives value to the cryptocurrency that is doing something that no one else has been able to do. It's the only one that's been able to successfully has made that transition. Sold over 12 billion coins, and the reason I'm sharing these facts with you because you understand that this isn't a small undertaking. Has sold 12 billion of the coins. We have 8 billion in circulation today. So you cryptocurrency experts, you probably think, oh my gosh, that's quite a few coins. But yes, we have 8 billion in circulation right now. And I don't even remember the number of contracts that we have. We're doing tens of thousands of contracts on a daily basis. So, and it's all backed by our gold mine. The company owns a gold mine, $900 million gold mine. It has gold, it has silver, it has copper. And the gold alone, once it's excavated, is worth $3.5 billion. That's with a B, $3.5 billion. So this is a strong, solid asset backing the coin. Our bank is already has 100. We opened day one with 100 million USD. Down in Miami, Florida. The first and only federal cryptocurrency bank. Now, I want to talk about something very quickly here, because every now and then, because of our business model, which is just like Amazon, with Amazon, which has a referral marketing concept, has a referral marketing business plan. Because of that plan, people get us confused. They think that we may be part of some kind of Ponzi, legal pyramid scheme. Well, we have all kinds of reasons to prove that we're not, right? Licensed in 126 countries. We have a relationship with Federal Express, who we're the number one client in the world. We have a relationship with the Vatican, who puts Pope John Paul II's image on one of our gold bars, LBMA certified. They've sold over 300,000 of those cards, of those gold cards, to their parishioners as a fundraiser. So they're not doing chicken dinners or fish fries. They're doing gold. We have some folks that are affiliated with us that are doing that now as well. Some organizations, some nonprofits, and more importantly, we have MasterCard, who handles all of our commissions, who've given us our own privately issued card that you can get your commissions on. So those reasons alone should show you that this is a legitimate company. Not only that, we're in 126 countries. But here's something that I think should really put everybody, just quiet any doubts that you have about our company. I just mentioned to you that we have the first and only federal cryptocurrency bank in the world. That's federal. Do you know the scrutiny you have to go through, Brother Ahmed, in order to start a federal bank? This is more federal than the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve isn't even federal. So understand something. So I'm going to give you a clue. For those of you that have looked at this, you've had friends that have shared this feed with you, get back to them, because they're trying to share with you something that's good. It's already been checked out. It's a federally licensed, fully licensed cryptocurrency bank. The federal government does not approve illegal banks. So now that we've gotten that out the way, you should no longer have that objection when you're talking to the person that invited you here, or if that person, if you have doubts, or if you're a pookie in them, the folks that have no idea, don't own any gold, they're not successful at all. They have to still go to work. If they don't go to work, the income will stop coming in. Is that outcome? So don't you listen to the facts. Take an educated assessment of what's in front of you, and then make a decision based on that, not based on what they're telling you. I used to make the mistake that you did. You know, it's a mistake in that when I was in different business ventures, I would be so excited. I'd be having success. You know, I had a lot of success, and then I would, when I did have jobs, I would go to my job and I would tell the people at work. I didn't know that people have a problem with you having success outside of being stuck with them. I've heard of crabs in a barrel, and so on and so forth. But we're going to put a spin on that. I have some business partners, Louis Young, Steve Coates, Crypto Steve. They put a spin on that crabs in a barrel thing. You know, they don't look at it as pushing or pulling the person down. They look at the crabs actually trying to pull them out with them. So we're going to turn that around. We're going to make it positive spin, because that's what we do. Do you have anything you'd like to share before we get?
Before we get to the end, and we do want to mention that as has already been said, and I think there are a couple of other things. Our blockchain goes live November 1st, right?
Our exchange.
I'm sorry. The exchange goes live November 1st. We have our own blockchain in the works. That should be out early 2019.
It'd be out early. We do have a call on line 1, so we're gonna put a pin in that because we're gonna take the call from the caller.
All right, thank you for calling the GoldBricks Show. Do you have a question or comment?
Just a quick question, sir. I hear you say that the Federal Reserve was not federal. How do I find out more information about that?
That's a good question. Well, you can just look up. You can go to Google and look up the Federal Reserve, or you can go to. There's a great book called The Creature from Jekyll Island, or you can do their YouTube videos on The Creature from Jekyll Island. It gives a very good education explanation of who the Federal Reserve is, and I think we're going to probably dedicate one show to an entire show to the Federal Reserve. It's Griffin is the author of that book.
In the central banking system.
In the central banking system. So
global in what they're doing, what they're actually doing.
We still have the caller on.
Did that answer your question? Go ahead.
Did that answer your question, caller? Okay.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. Where are you calling from, caller, if you don't mind?
Washington, D.C.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
Nation's
Thank you for your call.
Thank you for your call, sir.
Sure. Thank you.
And one of the things that that's going on. You said watch what they're doing. Don't listen to what they're telling you, but do what they're doing, right? And the central banks are stacking what? Gold, right? Gold is being they like to call it hoarding, but if we do it, it's hoarding. But if they do it, I don't know what they call it, but they're stacking gold, And the thing is that if they're doing it, and it takes me back to Enron. If you remember Enron.
Who remembers Enron?
While the executives were telling people, "Oh no, everything is fine," they were selling the stocks, right? The people in Enron, they lost not just their jobs, but their pensions, everything, right? And so what's happening is that there are going to be people who are going to tell you, say, "Oh no, everything is all right," And we say, bar the door, Katie. It's time to really start to recognize what's going on and do what they're doing. And I say, why are they saving in gold? Why are they saving gold if they're not backing their currency in gold?
Oh,
right.
That's the question. That's a great question. Why? I've never looked at it that way.
Right.
Why would they save in gold? Why would the central banks save their wealth in gold, store their wealth in gold, but then not use it to back the paper currency?
Well, let me give you a historical reference for that.
Think about that.
back when the World War II was going on, and the U.S., if you study the history, this is an important historical reference here. If you study the history, when the World War II was going on, and countries like France and Europe and other, which ended up being called allied countries, needed to buy things because they had converted their production, their industries, to creating war materials to fight the war. And so they were buying from the U.S. Guess what? U.S. said, your money's no good here. Pay us in what? In gold.
So listen, I'm sorry.
No.
I want you guys to really repeat that for a second. Repeat that. I want you to, if you don't mind repeating
Right,
it. I want you guys to really get a hold of this. Their paper currency
It's no good.
was no good.
Right.
It was no good. We look at countries now where their paper currency is no longer any good. We're not going to talk about Brexit and all that stuff
Right,
going on with
right,
that, but just
right.
so that you understand that no fiat paper currency lasts forever. None.
Especially when you see the issuer of that fiat currency. Yeah, I don't know which way you're going to go.
Right.
You got gold, I'll take your gold because it don't matter which way you go. If you pay me in gold, then I have wealth because that's an immediate transfer of wealth as opposed to currency, which can become, as you know, the Weimar Republic, just search it out, Zimbabwe and others, you'll find the money, the paper currency, and I keep referring to it as money mistakenly, but the paper currency becomes worthless. And so therefore you can have it stacked as high as the ceiling.
Yep.
And it'll buy you absolutely nothing.
There are videos, you can go on pictures right now and look at what they're doing with the paper and the fiat currency in Venezuela. It became firewood.
Yeah, that's all it was good.
That's what it became. But it's not just them. See, a lot of folks they get mixed up and say, oh, it's in the southern hemisphere. It's it doesn't matter what country it is. They may not actually be in the streets throwing it in fire and making fire, but it's the same thing if they're trashing it, they're throwing it away, if they're just it's the same concept. But understand, this happens in northern hemisphere countries as well. And so, do yourself a favor. You can go look at the history of all these other countries and the fiat currency. Look at the history of the central banking system, the Federal Reserve. Take a look at the history of cryptocurrency and gold, and see if you can find any other gold-backed cryptocurrency other than KBC and KCB, which is a privately issued coin that you can only have if you are an affiliate with this great company, Karatbars International. Get back to the person, please, that invited you to the stream. They're trying to give you some good information. Make sure that you follow up with them. They'll show you how quick and easy it is to just simply exchange your paper currency that's declining for physical gold that is going up, that is appreciating. Also, one more thing. We've eliminated the issue of, well, how do I convert the gold to cash if I need to do that? We have an ecosystem that allows you to convert the gold to cryptocurrency, to cash, and what have you. In fact, we have 1 million ATMs that we're putting out worldwide that will have the cheapest fees on earth. They're going to be all over the place, and you'll be able to not only get your regular fiat currency and cash with it, but you'll be able to actually get gold, transfer gold, and even use your cryptocurrency and trade other cryptocurrency on this company's exchange that is being released November 1. So these are exciting times, and you have an opportunity to be at the beginning of something, to be a part of the next Google, the next Facebook, the next Amazon. Understand, it's already happening, guys. This is an 8-year journey. This isn't overnight.
Right.
But this thing it's already happening. The things that have happened since February until now is mind-blowing. It's a great case study for any B students, any business school students. Right. So with that being said, that's all I have to say. I'm Dr. Sergio Rozelle. Success is voluntary, and you deserve it. Keep soaring.
And visit us at thegoldbricksshow.com. Thegoldbricksshow.com. Get more information.
And you are?
Yasin Ahmed.
Thank you so much, guys. Hope to see you next week, same time, same channel. And also, we have a special guest that's going to be here. It's a Hall of Famer, Business Hall of Famer, Mr. Ty Best of Wealth Builders Worldwide. Look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Thank you, everyone. and share.